So I'm going to share my screen to introduce PowerSchool Learning, and we'll dive right in. And I'm not sure the best way to ask questions. Alex, do you have any recommendations if they want to ask questions? How do we do that?
I usually ask people to just speak up because it's hard to see when you're sharing your screen.
So just put them in the chat section.
No, to say something.
Just to speak.
Yeah.
Okay. So are you recording? Yes, you are. Okay. Okay, so I'm sharing the screen for a test class that I have at PowerSchool Learning. So before I show you the features of PowerSchool Learning, I want to try to show you how to navigate through the different screens that show classes. So up in the upper left corner is the PowerSchool Learning icon. If you get lost, you'll always click this. This brings you to the PowerSchool portal. So the PowerSchool portal is a place for all these links as well. Michael suggested looking online learning resources this morning, and this is the link for online learning resources. So again, if I click this link, it takes me to a whole bunch of resources for online learning. Again, I want to get back to my portal. Click upper left corner. This gets me back to my portal. There's a lot of other stuff here that you can explore. You can explore on your own. And we'll talk about this calendar. When students log into PowerSchool Learning, they also see all their classes here. So the portal is a place to land where all your classes are visible. Now, students don't see all these feet. They don't see my classes because for faculty, you have the option of having inactive classes. So my classes at the moment shows all of the classes that are visible in my portal. But if I click on inactive, I'll see classes that for 2020. But if I can go back to previous years. So when I go back to previous years, I can see all these classes from 2019 that were also present in 2019. So I'm going to go back to 2020, and I'm going to go to my active classes. So you see here, and if I go to my portal, it's the same as anything that's active is also in your portal, even if it's from a previous year. If it's active, it'll show up here in the portal. So now I'm going to go to the test class that I've created to show the features of PowerSchool Learning. So you create this sort of a hierarchy of structure in PowerSchool Learning. So there's the class you're in, and you can manage the class from over here. You can see the roster. And I just have one student in the roster, but I have two sections. So there's another student in section B. So here's where you see section division of the class, and clicking on any one of these sections shows students who are in it. Manage class again shows themes. Now, I would encourage you to look at themes because you may not like just the standard one that was put in. So if I click on any theme, and I'm going to go to PowerSchool Learning Themes, shows a little bit of a difference in how you organize your page. Okay, so if you pick a theme that you like, it will be present for all the pages in your class. But you have to do this for each class. So I'm going to cancel this and close it. Also on the Manage class, you can see that these are the things. This is where you can make the class active or inactive. So we sent out an email just recently saying that all the classes will be made active on August 24th, I believe. August 28th, Friday, August 28th. So here is where you make the class active. It gives you a warning. If you make the class active, it won't be visible to the students. Okay, so you go back in here, make active. And for this, you can choose forever. Be aware of the date. If it's a date in the past, it's not going to show up. So just use forever. That's no problem. We do want to have the class visible to anyone on the web because this is how parents view the class. There will be links for all classes in the secondary school for parents to be able to view what their their children are doing. So make sure you don't change this. Anyone on the web. Okay, so that's basically the important aspects of managed class. So once you have the class, then you have pages in the class. So the structure is class, page, and blocks on a page. So I'm going to go first page. You can see this icon shows that it's not published. Students cannot see unpublished pages. So you want to click on that, publish now, publish on, publish from. You can explore that. So we're going to publish it. Once it's published, it turns this color orange. That's based on the theme for the class. This one is unpublished still for all sections. Now you can look at Manage Page here, and you go to Page Settings. Well, here is where you can choose who sees this page. So you can decide, should both sections or all my sections see the page? If you only teach one section of a class, you will not have this because it's assumed that everyone in the section will see the page. You want to check this with caution because you don't want the students leaving comments that are, sort of not appropriate. So I'm going to select that it's visible to all people. Okay, so I've set up my page so that it's visible to everyone. It's published or it's unpublished because you're not ready to have students see it because you're still putting information on the page. So the way you put information on the page, it's the third level of structure, which is the block. So it's class, page, and block. Before moving to blocks, organize pages. If you click this icon, you will have an ability to change the order of the pages. Okay. And you can have subpages. So if I want to have this page as a subpage of this page, rather than a separate page, I can take this, move it in like that, and it becomes a subpage of the first page. If I apply that, then if I close the first page, you don't see the second page. And it's also still inactive. Okay, so let's go now to blocks, content blocks. So when I click Add Content Block, I get a bunch of different things with 3 tabs up here. The content has all of these features, which we'll go through. The calendar has mini calendar or upcoming activities. And messages and activities will go through these. Okay, assessments, assignments, discussions, etc. So we'll start off with content blocks that are on-page text. So you have to put in a title. So I'm just going to call this text block. First one. Now here you can put type or you can copy and paste. So if I go to this screen, which was this morning's schedule, and I copy all of this. And so I'm going to copy. You can use Command C, or you can use right click on a mouse and copy it. Then if I go back to PowerSchool, I can paste that in. And it gives you a warning about this, so there's no problem. You can paste it in here and say, okay. So there's what I just copied, and it's pasted in. And I can format the text using all of these buttons. So let's say I want to make all of this bold. I can do that. So, excuse me, I won't go through all of these, but it's important to know a lot of things here. The most important one probably is the link button right here. The link button, this creates the link, this breaks the link. So let's say I pick Google Drive here. And I want to link that to something. So I click the link button, and usually you copy a URL from a website, but I'm just going to put in cnn.com and save. Okay, so the formatting got all messed up when I did that. So be aware. So probably choosing this type of thing to copy is not a good idea. But the link will take me to CNN. Okay. If you see this, it's all messed up. You go back in here, edit the block, change the structure of the formatting. So right now, it's pretty hard to do that. So I'm going to leave. So you can change things like this, but I'm going to change this so that it's just something like test text block. Okay, so let's say I want to put in a picture. I'm going to get the picture from my computer. Choose a file. So you navigate to wherever your picture is located. So let's say this is the picture I want to put in. So process is the picture. You can put in a type of organization here for the size. You'll have to experiment with this. I'm going to make this that size. You can choose the alignment, and you can put in a caption, what the picture represents. Okay. Save. So there's what students will see when you paste in a picture. Okay, so text blocks have the ability, just to go over that again quickly. Links are very important. Pasting in pictures are very important. And all of these other formatting kinds of tools are good to learn how to use. Okay, so I'm going to cancel that. Now, let's go to a text block, another block, but this time a file block. This is probably the most important tool of adding a content block, because you're going to be giving students files that they should look at. Normally, you would give out handouts in a class. With PowerSchool Learning, you don't have to give out handouts because you have the file block. So give it a title. Go to next. So very important choice right here. Attach from Google Drive or upload. If you upload a file, let's say you've prepared a really nice Word document, and this is class guidelines for History 1 for 2020. Well, this now has a date structure, a particular class structure. So if you want to change this for, let's say, for next year, you have to delete the file and upload a new file representing the new structure. But if you choose attach from Google Drive, like that, then you can choose whether the students should comment on the document, should collaborate, should make it a PDF. If you make it a PDF, they have to download it. I would suggest read only. And attach. And you can add more files. So you can have a long list of files. You can also change the name of the file without affecting the link to the file. So you can change a more descriptive title in here by typing in something. So you save this when you're done. And here's the file. Now, when students see this and they click on this link, they will be brought to their Google file, a Google Drive. Because what you have done by putting in that link to the Google Drive file, what you've done is shared the document with them. Normally, when you share a document with a student, you have to go in and actually share it. But the linking in PowerSchool Learning takes care of that for you. Okay, so let's go back to this. So very important to choose Google Drive files rather than uploading files from your computer. You can do that if you want to, just be aware of that type of thing. So if I go to add more files, and if I upload a file, so let's choose this PDF. So attaching PDF to the same file block, save. So when a student clicks on this, the file gets downloaded. So it's a cumbersome process because now the student, let's say you put a Word file in here. Well, if it's a Word file, it probably will be opened by some other application on the computer. But if it's a strange file, the student will need the application that you created the file in to be able to open the file. So be conscious of what you put in file blocks. Mostly you could put in Google Drive files. Okay, so we looked at text block and a file block. So we're going to go to add a content block again, web links. So I'm going to cancel this because web links, it's pretty easy to see what they are. So you get a link that looks like this. Well, let's just do one. I'm going to call this web links. And here you can put it in description. And then here you can type something in, or you go to CNN and I type in here this link. So I'm going to copy the CNN link. I'm going to go to here. I'm going to remove that and paste in, because the pasting puts in the HTTP already. So if this is a very long, complex link, you don't want it to show up. You want to type a link. Okay, so you can add a bunch of links, save. So there's web links. Click this, it'll go to the CNN site. Okay, images. Images, I'll do this, try to do this quickly. So for images, it wants you to upload files. Choose the files. So let's say I choose 3 files, 4 files, open. Excuse me. These will take time to attach, depending on the size of the file. This is, okay, so now you can type some stuff here, short description about the images, and you can put captions next to the images, finish. So now, click on an image and you can do a slideshow. Okay, so that's how you do images if you have a bunch of them you want to put up. Okay, so now we're going to move to this one, Flickr. We're not going to do Flickr because not everyone may use Flickr. If you have a Flickr account, you can experiment with that. We'll do embed the web. So this one is a really, really useful tool. So I want to take a moment to clarify how I'm going to use this. So I'm going to go to my Google Drive, switch to Calendar. So this is my Google Calendar. And I'm going to go for Settings, which is this icon. And let's say you you have PowerSchool Learning, but you also have a Google Classroom class. If you have a Google Classroom class where for the same thing, like you're teaching Algebra 1, so you have a Google Classroom class for Algebra 1, but you also have the PowerSchool Learning class for Algebra 1. So every time you create a Google Classroom class, a calendar for that class also gets created. So I have a sample class here, Astronomy 1. So I'm going to select Astronomy 1 as the class I'm going to use. If I scroll down here, you can see embed code. So when you embed the web, you'll have to put in an embed code. Clicking on that, I'm going to press Control-C, Command-C on a Mac, Command-C. Now go back to my class. Paste that in here. Next. The block title is Astro 1 in Google Classroom. And you can put a description in here if you want to, but you don't need to. Save. So there's Google Classroom Astronomy 1 calendar embedded on my PowerSchool learning page. So if you go to the calendar, actually, I only have Astronomy 1 selected here, so I'm going to put something in for today. I'll just call this test, save. Okay, so the test event has been created in my Google Calendar for my Google Classroom page. So now if I go to here, and sometimes this takes a little time, but if I refresh the screen, Command R on a Mac refreshes your screen. So Command R, refresh the screen. There's the test event, which gets put into the embedded Astronomy 1 class in Google Classroom's calendar for the class. Now, you say, well, why do I need to do that? Well, it's important to communicate with the parents. So the parents really don't have a way for Google Classroom to be viewed by them. But unless they use their child's login information, once they get to secondary school, the students are reluctant to share their login information with the parents. So this allows parents to view the class. You remember at the beginning of the class, we said that class will be visible to anyone on the web. The reason for that is so that the parents can see the class. Now, one more thing with Manage Page. This page is suitable for the way I've laid it out. Page layout. I have one column. If you change this to a different view, you can then drag content blocks to the second column. But be aware that if there's a lot of information, it's not going to be easily seen by students if you make it too small. So by managing class and using a good page layout, you can be more effective in how the class pages look. So I'll go back to the full layout. Notice that this got changed because I moved it, but you can also move it like this. You just go up here to the gray bar and move it around. Okay, add a content block. So we did embed the web. Video, video, I would tend to, if you have a short video, I would upload it. However, we have found that using this video feature can lead to trouble. So until we figure out if it's going to work well, I would discourage you from using the video. It's because what happens when you click this is wants you to upload a file. First of all, video files are very big files. It takes a long time to get them uploaded. So for those reasons, I would discourage you from using the video block. However, a link to a video that you have in your Google Drive could work. And we can try to demonstrate that. It could work as a web link. Just put the link to the video as a web link. Students will be taken to their Google Drive where you shared the video. You have to make sure the video is visible to everyone because in this case, you're providing a link, but you're not sharing the link. You're not sharing the file. So you have to be aware of that. Let's go to YouTube. So YouTube is a huge resource. So I'm going to click up here and go to a YouTube site. So let's pick up a simple video, this video. Yikes. One reason not to use YouTube. However, share, copy the link. Okay, close that. Go back to your YouTube, paste in the link. And you're going to want this embedded on the screen or as a pop-up, either way. In a pop-up reduces the size of the page so they don't have to scroll too much. It's also possible to put this on a separate page so that you're reducing the number of things on one page. So go next. So we'll just call this YouTube 1, save. So it copied, the link that I put in was my link to Mozart, which I already had from before. So I didn't paste in the new one that I just copied, but the one that was there from before. That's the reason that this is Mozart. So if a student goes here and plays the link, they can play it like that. So I'm going to pause. Now, I've got a lot of things on this page. Okay, too much scrolling is not good. So add a page. And so this, we'll call this page 3, because I have 2 other pages. You can make it a sub-page or at the bottom of the list of pages. Here, you can choose whether the page is created for section A or B or all your sections. Save. Page 3 got created unpublished. The other page, remember, is still a sub-page of the first one. So I'm going to go ahead and publish this page. Students cannot see unpublished pages. Forgive me if I repeat things too often, but that's from my teaching training. You have to repeat things 100 times before the students actually understand it. Okay, so now I go back to my first page. And I have this content block. Click on the block wheel, manage block, go to copy. Actually, no, I don't want to do that. I want to move it to this class and move it to page 3. So the content block now has been moved to page 3. So someone could ask, well, what's the copy for? The copy is, let's say this one is the one I want to copy. The copy is to move it to a different class. Choose a page on the class and copy it. So I cancel that because I don't want to put it at another class. But you can copy blocks. You can also do that with entire pages. You can move a page or copy a block or copy the page to a different class. Okay. And you can delete pages from here, but I would encourage you to unpublish pages. So you want to just click unpublish. And you can also unpublish from right here. Okay. And you can also change the name of the page in here and save the name of the page. Okay. Okay, so now I'm on page 3 and I have one content block on page 3. So I go back to add content blocks. So we've seen how to use YouTube audio. Now, this is not used by a lot of people, but it's a really neat tool where you would, again, upload audio files. So this is really a feature, again, that you should be wary of, because uploading files during the time of the pandemic, where thousands and hundreds of thousands of people are using PowerSchool Learning, things can get bogged down. But the way it works is you go in here and you find an MP3 file and you upload the file. Open, attach. So I'm going to cancel that because it just provides a link to the file. The student can download it. So let's say you record a lecture. If you record a lecture, you create an MP3 file using recording software on your computer or Zoom or something like that. You can then put it on your PowerSchool Learning page. Students can download it, put it on their phone, and they can listen to it wherever they want. Okay, so that is audio, which I've skipped. Now, Google Drive is another really nice tool. So I want to show that. Create a new Google Drive or pick. So I'm going to pick. And I'm going to pick this again. Could be a spreadsheet. It could be other things, but I'm picking a document. Teachers only can make changes. View only for students. So what happens is the Google document gets embedded on the page. So for something like this, the page layout is not good. It should be one column. So there's the page layout. And I want to put this at the top of the page. Okay, and if it's scrolling, the students can scroll through. Okay, so that is the last type of content block. Calendar. So I want to do this because calendars are extremely important for students and for parents to understand. Calendar for your class. Save. So there's the calendar. And I'm going to put the calendar up higher so that we can see it. All right, so now the question is, what do I use this for? How do I use it? Well, a teacher will see the add block right here. So that's one way to put stuff in the calendar. But this calendar up here is the same thing. Anything you put in the large calendar, and I've already added the Astronomy 1 calendar. You can see this add calendar feature right here. I embedded the Google Calendar on the page, but I can also pick a calendar like this and put it here. So you don't have to put the calendar on a page as an embedded block because you have a calendar tab at the top of the screen where you can go to the tab. So sometimes it takes a little time for Google to go through all the events to update those events. So here's the test calendar, and I can uncheck these. So I'm seeing only this calendar, and here's the event that I saved. The test calendar, which is the first one, this is the one, the default one for the class that's created by PowerSchool Learning. That's created by default. Now, I want to, before I create an event in here, you can do an activity or you can do an event. An activity means something that has a due date that you have to pass in somehow, but an event is just something you want the students to be conscious of. So if I go back to pages, you notice the 18th is pink. So if I click on that, Unfortunately, it didn't behave the way I thought it would behave. No, wants me to add an event. So this event shows just that there's something going on here on the 18th, okay? So what I need to do is add a second calendar type block, upcoming activities. I'll leave that the way it is. And here's the test event from my Google Calendar showing up in the upcoming activities. So there's two ways to show calendars. I'm moving this up so that it is just below the calendar. So this shows me something is happening on the 18th. This shows me the actual event, which I can click on, and it shows me the time and the date for the event. Okay, so that's how you use a calendar. But if I now go back to my portal, here's the event showing up here. Now, the question is, why isn't it showing up here on 18th? But if you click on the 18th, it does show up. The reason I believe is that this is a Google Calendar event. It's not the PowerSchool Learning Calendar event. Okay, so this should turn pink for a Google Calendar event. So we can test that. So I don't have a huge amount of time left. And I wanted to try to take some questions, but just let me quickly, we've looked at these two. This is probably the most important one. You want to create an assignment, discussion forum, an assessment. Assessment is a 1 hour or 2 hour presentation all on its own, because assessments are really done well in PowerSchool Learning. You can put in an assessment like this. It'll tell you what exam or practice. I'd encourage you to put in practice exams if you want to. If you teach a class and you use a textbook that has a publisher test bank, we can import the test bank so that you can create questions from the test bank that goes with your textbook. Okay, so that you would pick the grading period when this is due, trimester 1. You pick this type of thing, whether the number of points, title cannot be blank, but I don't really have a lot of time to do this. So the nice thing about Zoom is previously someone would come to my office and say, I want to do assessments using PowerSchool Learning. How do I do that? I would show them, but it's just as easily to go through this with a Zoom session. And so I could have a Zoom session with you personally, individually, and go through the creation of assessments or anything else that is available to you in these content blocks. So that being said, we have like 5 minutes left for any questions you might have. At least this will get you started. There is one thing I wanted to show, so bear with me a minute. So I'm gonna go to my wife teaches Spanish in high school. So I'm gonna go to her. So I, as an admin, have the ability to pretend that I am her and look at her classes. But if I go to my classes, this is what you're gonna see. If you go to inactive, you're gonna see a bunch of classes in here. Anything that does not have 2020-21, 2020-21, okay, anything that does not have that, you should leave it alone. The only purpose of these classes is to provide a roster that we have linked to your content class, the one that is 2021. So I can't say that enough, because invariably people will want to click on these and use these classes. Well, this shows 2 sections of AP Spanish. Now, you don't want to manage 2 sections of AP Spanish, 2 classes, 2 separate web pages. So we take AP Spanish right here, and in the roster, we create 2 sections, actually 3. There are 3 sections of AP Spanish. Okay. So that's the function of those inactive classes that have these numbers associated with them. Don't use them. You don't need to be aware of them at all. This is all you need to be aware of, the ones that are these. So to activate a class, we showed that, you just make it active if it has 2020-21, not these classes. Okay, so I'm going to stop masquerading, and if you have a question, just we'll see if we can answer it. And I am available to you anytime, so please contact me.
I have 4 sections of Algebra 2. I have 4 sections of Algebra 2, and I'm looking at my screen like what you just said. So how would I do different things for the 4 sections if I'm only working with one Algebra 2B 2021? Yes, if you can bring my screen up, that would be great.
Okay, so here's you. So I'm going to masquerade as you. And here's Algebra 2. Is that the one?
Yes.
Okay, go to Algebra 2. Excellent. You picked the theme. Wonderful. Okay, so I'm
No, I didn't pick a theme. Ms. Vogelsang must have worked on this, because I wouldn't pick light purple.
Okay.
But could you go to the PowerSchool, the main one, my portal? Because this is already showing 2017, 2018. And then my classes. Yes, yes.
Okay, so you have Algebra 2B, where you have 1, 2, 3, 4 sections of Algebra 2B.
Yes.
Correct? Okay, so let's say you want to work on this class. You pick just the one that says 2020-21.
Yes.
In the roster for this class, here are your 4 sections, A, F, H, I. They're all here.
Okay.
So when you create a page, let's say I add a content block, or not a content block, but a page, because you cannot make content blocks section specific. Only pages can be made section specific. So let's say I go to this page, the first page, and I don't want to have all students seeing this page. I would go to Manage Page, Page Settings, uncheck this block, and pick which sections you want to have see the page. Mostly, it'll be all the sections. Mostly. But for some reason, because these meet on different days, you may have a different schedule for some classes, because they meet, the due dates will be different. So that's when you create a page that has only certain sections checked. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Okay.
I have a question if we have time for one more.
Sure.
So in the calendar function, if I wanted to use the default calendar that's on my course page, is there a way to then link that to my Google Classroom pages? I know you can do it from Google Classroom to PSL, but can you do it the other way?
I'm not sure you can do that. So I'd have to do some research to see if I can do that. And so is that Valerie asking that question?
Yes.
Yeah, Valerie, I'll let you know. I'm not sure. Let's see. If I go to calendar, and if I go to calendar URL, oh, here it is right here. So the calendar URL. So you copy this URL. Copy this URL and copy the link address and paste that link address on your Google Classroom page. So that's one way of doing it. If you want to embed it on a Google Classroom page, I would have to see how to do that. Maybe that's in there. But that's at least one way. You have a fallback to try to do that, just by putting the link to the calendar.
Okay. I have some additional questions about it, but I'll follow up with you after.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so Alex, I think, is going to be next. So we're going to take a short break, I believe.